All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to another edition of Foundations in Magic. Now, I said the last time that we might be doing Mojo Bags, and I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do today. I thought about since communication seems to be an issue right now for a lot of people for a variety of reasons. Uh, Sometimes it's helpful. I've found it helpful anyway to carry a little Mojo bag with me wherever I go, especially if I'm wanting to um, stay focused when I'm communicating with somebody. When I want to get my point across. I don't want to, lose my mind in the process or whatever. Um, and that's not always easy to do. And I just found having a little Mojo bag that I've charged and what have you, with different things that I'm concerned about, with representations of that, then I seem to do better. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you guys today of how I do one, and there's a couple different ways we can do one. Well, we could use green cloth if we wanted to. Two different ways I do it though. I either take a swatch and I cut a piece, in this case, this is a yellow one. Yellow's for communication, color of mercury. And what I would do if I were to do it this way, I would take, a quarter of it, basically. So either other than that, I usually just take a little drawstring bag. Now, the advantage of using a drawstring bag for a dream pillow or a little dream pouch or a mojo bag or whatever is that it's contained and you don't have to mess with it. And then when you're done, you just, cinch it up and there you go. And you can decorate it. You can do whatever you want to it. You can draw on the outside of it if that's what you want to do. But for me, I realize that you can go online and at different websites you can buy little Mojo bags, and they're decorative and they're pretty and they're interesting looking and all of that. And that's fine. That's one way to approach this. I'm more utilitarian about this. To me, a Mojo bag has a purpose, and I don't really care what it looks like. It could be just something I grabbed, wadded it up, and there you go, right? So I just I'm not into the whole decorative look. So but that's just me. But if you wanted to, you could get really, you could use some fun little swatches that you can get, because you can buy them just in little tiny pieces of fabric. And that way you don't have to, cut up something you have or what have you. But anyway, the idea behind a Mojo bag is inside is contained you're basically your spell, okay? And so what I put in mine, I mean, you can put anything in it, depends on what the purpose is for. If you're working a curse or something, then your Mojo bag will look very different than one that's promoting communication. So, or fertility or getting a job or whatever. It's really just taking the elements of a spell and sticking it in a bag. I mean, if you really want to think about it that way. Now, you can use a lot of the root workers, the conjurers, they're going to do it differently than another type of witch might do. They're going to use roots and bones and things like that. They're going to use earthy kinds of things to include in their bag to create whatever effect they want. Sometimes they're called gris bags, Gris, that's how that's spelled, gris bags. They're also, let's see, well, I guess that's really all I want to say about it. But in any event, let's just get down to making one. And we're going to do it, I'll show you how it would look. Let me just do that real quick. I'll cut, if my scissors will work. I don't know that they will. Well, we'll just sort of do it in a way that's choppy here, which is how one would do it anyway. Again, Mojo bags are not really supposed to be anything other than utility, have a utilitarian purpose as far as I'm concerned. But you see, you would have everything, you'd plop it in the center, charge it, wrap it up, right, like this, and then tie it with a ribbon, or sometimes I use embroidery floss. So that's the old-fashioned way of making a Mojo bag. All right, it's going to end up looking something like this when it's all said and done, with a little fabric sticking out the top and all of your little goodies inside. So anyhow, but today I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to put, well, maybe I won't. Maybe I won't. Let's do it in this one. Otherwise, what you would do is you would just put it all inside here, this little muslin bag, like I said. So anyhow, and like I say, if you've got kids and you want to do like a dream pillow, that's really cool. You can either, the nice part about these is you can hang them above the bed if you have a way to do that. My bed has one of those pedestal, it's a pedestal, used old pedestal water bed, and now it's got just a mattress in it. But the pedestal headboard's got a couple different little places for lamps. And so for me, it's real easy. I can just hang one up there, or I can stick it underneath the pillow. Like if you wanted to do a dream pillow, if you wanted to do like mugwort in it or something, you could promote dreams that way, and maybe trance work. You could do that if you're planning to do some astral projection at night on the way to going to sleep. You could put one of these under your pillow with a bunch of mugwort stuffed in it, and there you have a nice dream pillow, right? But otherwise, this is great just to carry in your purse, okay, or in your pocket. It's going to be a little bit more compact than what we're going to make in the traditional Mojo bag here. So anyhow, let me go ahead and tell you what we're going to put in this. Now, what I do, and I'm going to get some Job's Tears out here because I'm going to put some Job's Tears in it as well. These are from my garden, by the way. Job's Tears are cool. They're basically a grass, and these grow up at the top when the grass heads, the little seed heads come up. What you're going to find are Job's Tears, and you just go pick them off, and you dry them, and then you stick like a needle through them to get all the thready stuff, the fibrous stuff out of the center, and then you can string them together as beads. They used to be, I mean, you can see them made with malas. Indie Odyssey has those. They have some made, malas made from Job's Tears. And that's a company actually that I'm an affiliate for. So they have Job's Tears malas, which are very cool. So I'm going to take out 3 of these today and put them in my little bowl here where I have some crystal chips, because I'm also going to use crystal chips. Now, let's just talk a little bit about what we're going to use here. We're going to use some herbs, we're going to use some crystals, and we're going to use some seeds. Okay? Oh, and some berries. All right? And then we're also going to use some calendula blossom, dried calendula blossom. I have some rose that this is all from my garden, and I have different shades of rose here that I'm going to use. I also have some basil, some purple ruffled basil that I'm going to put in here. Now, some of this stuff I'm not really going to grind up. I'm just going to kind of do this a little bit just to kind of get them blended together. And the other thing, if you're going to put a rose in something, make sure that the thorn is off of it, because unless you're trying to do some kind of a binding or something like that, you're not going to be using any thorns. And so, like with this, for example, you would take and you would just pull off the stem end with the little thorns still on it, and then you'd have your little pink flowers, which I'm going to go ahead and just set back down. Now that we know what's going to go in it, the type of essential oil that I'm going to activate it with is going to be clary sage. Now, the whole thing about communication, how I see this, did I say lavender? I should have said lavender. I'm also putting lavender in it, hawthorn berry and we'll talk about why. And also I'm going to put a whole star anise seed in it. So that's the other seed and bead and all that kind of stuff we're going to put in it. So anyhow, let's go ahead and to tie it, we could either use ribbon. We can use ribbon, or I prefer just embroidery floss. That's how I do it. I just use embroidery floss. You've got different colors if you wanted to, correspond with that. This is a dark color. This is either dark blue or I think it's dark blue for communication. So all of this really can be, everything can be corresponded to whatever your purpose is. And if you're trying to have some kind of blended, type of response to it, like I'm doing here, then you can see where kind of making them all mesh together is important. So anyhow, we're going to use rose petals I wrote this down so I don't forget it, all right? Rose petals for harmony and love, star anise for intuition and luck, calendula to avoid negativity. Lavender is the overall one. That's the foundational one. Healing, protection, purification, and harmony. I mean, what witch doesn't use lavender? Basil, also focus for lavender. Basil for courage. Now, if you don't have any basil, if you had any borage leaf or borage flower, you could also use that. But again, you're going to be using, this is all going to be dried herbs. So sometimes we don't save those. They don't make it through the season because we float the flowers and things. And anyway, but you could do that as well. Borage is also for courage. I didn't know where mine was. So I had basil right at my fingertips, so that's what I'm going to use. 3 hawthorn berries. Now, 3 is important because I use things in 3s for mind, body, spirit alignment. And so the 3s today, 3 hawthorn berries, 3 clear quartz chips. Let me take them. Here, I'll put them. Job's tears in the other little bowl. But here, I'll show you, we have, let me see if the camera can get that. We have just these little chips. Now, you can use larger pieces if you want to. I like chips, especially when I'm using herbs, though, in there, because, you know, they seem to blend better, I think, and all you need is the energy of it. Now, I'm going to use 3 amethyst, 3 malachite, and 3 clear quartz. Now, clear quartz, of course, is for clarity. Malachite's for healing, and amethyst is for intuition. Now, my thinking here in all of this is the idea is if you want to talk to somebody and you get tongue-tied and things just are not really, you know, your mind won't settle, you're not really sure of the situation, you really need to be able to draw from some intuition to be able to know for certain if whether or not this is even going to work today or not, whether this conversation will work. And so consequently, what we want to do here is we want to bring everything into harmony, but mostly what you're bringing into harmony is yourself. Yes, you want that feeling to extend to the other person, but if it doesn't begin with you, it sure as heck isn't going to begin with them, all right? So that's the whole point of this. So now, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and I think what I'll do is I'm going to use this little bowl here, yeah, and I'm going to set these seeds and the hawthorn berries and all of that over there, and I'm going to use this little bowl to blend my herbs or my flowers in. So let's go ahead and take, let's see, we need to put my little deal there. Let's go ahead and we'll take some petals off of the, in fact, I'm going to do this over here. What can I do with this guy here? I'll put that over there, and I'll set this right here so you can see what I'm doing. Maybe, no, you can't see it there either. Well, we're here. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this off, and I don't need much. So I'm just going to have a little bit, right? Because again, the calendula is to avoid negativity. So maybe, yeah, let's put a little more. You know, I think that we can get negative instead of staying positive and moving forward in a forward direction. We can bring up the past. So maybe we'll put a little more calendula in here to avoid bringing up the past so much, you know, especially in a harsh way. Now, this particular rose, this is off of a very small rose plant that I have. And we're going to put that in there. I'm going to put maybe a little pink one here, a little bit of a pink one as well. And just, I'm going to put part of it in there. Well, no, I'll put the whole thing. And then, again, this is a little bit different shade, and it's a little bit bigger. It's a little more of a, it's not lavender, it's a darker color, but this is going to be akin to the amethyst, and we're going to put some of this in here as well. Well, we'll put the whole thing. And again, I'm just pulling off the petals. All right. And so now we have basically a bowl with a lot of rose petals in it, and we have our calendula. So I'm just going to kind of mix them up a little bit, just so that it's maybe a little bit more broken. It's going to look like that. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pour it right in the center of my Mojo bag. All right, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to show you that it's right in the center. Okay, mean, I think you can kind of see what I'm doing over here, if I can see this right. Maybe I'll move this down, and maybe you could see it better if I pull this over. I want you to see what I'm doing here, but at the same time, you know, there's only going to be so much of that I can do. Okay, I think there I can see that better. Yes. All right, so you can see we're right in the center of this. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in my hawthorn berries, and here are my hawthorn berries and my Job's tears. I'm going to set those right in the center. And then on top of that, well, wait, before I put the anise star in, the star anise in there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my crystal chips right in the center of the seeds. All right. Now, to top all that off, now I'm going to put the star anise in the center. Now, you can do this any way you like, but I like this feeling of beginning with the plant material first, and then going on to any seeds or beads or whatever I'm going to put in there. Also, the other thing we have not done is we've not put our lavender on. So I'm going to sprinkle lavender over the top of all of it. Well, I got some here. So we'll just, oh, and I love the smell of lavender, don't you? I mean, you just want to sit there and sniff on it all day long. It's the best part of the garden. It really is. But what I'm doing now is I'm just sprinkling the lavender over the top of this. And I mean, this is going to be a nice smelly Mojo bag. It's going to be really great. So hopefully it's still real smelly when you get to your conversation, and your friend will say, or your family member, whoever it is that you're having issues with, will say, "Oh my goodness, what's that smell?" You know, and then the whole mood has changed, isn't it? Well, see, that's what you want. You want to change the mood. Now we're going to charge it. We're going to charge it with some Reiki as well, or with casting one's intention, however you want to look at this. So but you're going to do that. You can do that now, actually. You can put your hands over it and focus. And I'm a Reiki master, so I'm just sort of, the minute I focus my attention into my hands, they start, you know, vibrating. And so basically, you know, I'm going to focus my attention. I'm going to say a couple of, I'm going to use the symbol codes for it, and I'm not going to say them out loud because I'm a master, so there's one of them that you don't know about, supposedly, unless you're a Reiki master. So I'm going to do that. So I've activated that. Now I'm going to sprinkle 3 drops, and hopefully that's what I'm going to get. So let me put my candle over here by it a little bit better. I'm going to do 3 drops of clary sage in the center, essential oil. Yep. I didn't see it, but I can smell it. So clary sage is wonderful. It's for clear sight, and I just think it's an amazing smell. I grow a clary sage plant, and I have to tell you, when it spikes its flowers up, it's this beautiful, well, it's kind of a variegated type, so it's more than one color, but it's this very pale lavender, is the lavender colored part of it. The rest of it's kind of whitish, but it's a beautiful, beautiful plant, and it's just lovely. I just love it. So anyway, now that this has had a chance to settle in a little bit, we're going to bring our corners together and just bring it all the way up so that you don't miss any part of it, because you don't want anything coming out of it. So just kind of pull on it a little bit to make sure all of your corners are up so that you don't have any of your herbs coming out. Wad it together there in the center. And now just tie, and I'm just using embroidery floss. That's all I'm using. It's easy. It's, again, you've got a lot of different colors. So if you're wanting to do this in a way that's, you know, a little more, you know, correspondence oriented, then, you know, you've got I mean, you could just buy a big bag of multicolored, floss if you're not, someone who does embroidery. And there you have your Mojo bag. Now, there's a little thing called feeding your Mojo bag. You can do this in a couple different ways. You can either drop more essential oil on it, or you can hold it in your hands and feed it that way, feed it more Reiki. I prefer to just, I don't overdo it with essential oils, because every time I do, I mean, it just gets everywhere, And if I'm taking it in my purse, then I don't want that in there, right? Because I don't want a bunch of oil everywhere, and I don't want other things getting affected by it. So basically, I'm pretty gingerly with that, and so I don't feed my Mojo stuff with essential oils. I just don't. I would rather just hold it in my hands and use Reiki to do it. I just find that it's easier and less messy. So anyway, so that's it. I mean, Mojo bags are easy, and they're very simple. This is your traditional type. You can, again, use any kind of fabric you want to use. If you were to work a curse, for example, and do it in the form of a gree bag or a Mojo bag or whatever, these are also called charm bags, by the way. So a charm is not necessarily a good thing. A charm can be a curse, and so, or a binding or what have you. But again, if you're doing something like that and you're casting a curse and it involves somebody, typically that's what a curse involves, is somebody else. If you were able to get any part of them, hair, fingernails, or if you were able to get some cloth of theirs, you could use that as your bag, okay? And then that way, whatever, if you're trying to get this person to leave you alone, or, if they're doing stuff that's really harmful or something, ideally you're going to want to get something of theirs to make your Mojo bag, if at all possible. Otherwise, you're going to have to establish the intention that that's what this is. So there's a lot of ways that these could be used. If you're, they can be used for prosperity. But here's the thing: if you know someone who's a witch and something's happening to you, you might check the corners of your home for a Mojo bag, because maybe you've done something, that you need to go apologize for. And if you find one, then maybe you just will know who it's from, and you need to go and have a conversation with them and say, hey, what did I do? Unless you already know. And then if you do, then you need to say, thank you for the reminder. Anyway, lots of ways to use these things. I typically don't use them in a negative way. I tend to use them in a positive way, just to try to be helpful in terms of, and usually it has to do with communication issues, or trying to calm down. Maybe that's another one I'll use one for. If if I'm just feeling a little bit too agitated about something, then I'll grab a Mojo bag. I'll make up a Mojo bag and just hold it for a while, or what have you, or have it near me, to just try to bring me back into focus. And so they don't have to be something that you do to someone. You can make these for people if someone were to ask you to do that. If they know you're a witch or a conjurer of some kind, a hoodoo worker or whatever, if they ask you to make them a Mojo bag for some reason, you're going to have to decide, what's the ethical aspects of this for yourself. I'm not someone who would do something for somebody that would be harmful to anybody else. I don't care really what it is. I might try to bind someone's actions from hurting other people, but sometimes people want Mojo bags for other reasons. And so, you're going to have to decide for yourself ethically as to how you use your Mojo bags. Are you doing it just for yourself? Are you doing it for positive reasons, or, just exactly what's this for? So in any event, that's just the basic fundamentals of how to make a Mojo bag. Like I said, there's various ways to do it. You can, again, I just find it much more simple just to grab one of these and stuff this full of something or other, and then, take it with me wherever I go, or hang it above my bedroom or above my head on the bed, or to stuff it underneath a pillow, if I wanted to do that. If I wanted to have like a dream pillow for trance work. But again, this could also be useful for that if you were to just hold it in your hands when you're and breathe it in, basically when you're trying to achieve trance state. That's another thing you can use them for. So lots of reasons to use them. It's up to you what that is. And again, I stress ethics, ethics, ethics. So in any event, I guess that's it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do the next time. I have been so focused on this one, I just haven't really thought about anything else. I might start, though, taking a look at the Elder Futhark. And how I'm going to do that, though, I'll do it in 3 parts. We'll take the first ayat. There's 24 Elder Futhark runes, and they're arranged in 3 ayats, or 3 groupings. And it has to do essentially with, spiritual issues, personal issues, and then transpersonal issues, essentially, is how that's broken down. And so we'll take the first 8, and then the second 8, and then the third 8 to take a look at. We'll do 3 Foundations in Magic videos for each one of those. So well, 1 for each of the 3. So we'll say it that way. So I think that's what I'm going to do the next time. So that probably won't be for another couple weeks. I'll get those together, and maybe I'll do them all at the same time and post them all at the same time. Or maybe I'll just, maybe not. Maybe I'll let one gel before we move on to the next. So in any event, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside. This has been Making Mojo Bags in our Foundation in Magic series. And it's going to be here on Patreon for Patreon subscribers and patrons for probably about a month, and then we'll go ahead and have it appear over in the on the Stepping Aside YouTube channel for everybody else to see it. But we'll give patrons the first crack at this, and before we release it to everyone else. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time, I guess. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.